Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the SABR Elysian Fields chapter. My name is Donna Muscarella, and I am the chapter president. Tonight, we kick off our researcher series, and our inaugural guest is Adam Darowski. I'm so happy that he's here with us and that he accepted this invitation. Adam is I want to get this right, so I'm going to read it, Executive Director of Design for Sports Reference, and Sports Reference brings us all great things: Baseball Reference, Immaculate Grid, Stathead, and others. So I'm going to keep that really short because Adam's got a lot to cover. And welcome, everybody. And Adam, take it away.
Donna, thank you so much. Yes, I'm here to talk about baseball reference, stat head, but I'm going to start with baseball reference. I want to make this as interactive as possible. I'm sure that a lot of you know a lot about baseball reference, but my goal here is to show you some things that you maybe don't know how to find on the site. We can do questions and answers however we want. If people want to wait till the end or if people want to ask as we go along, I'm up for anything. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to show you baseball reference and kind of walk through a little tutorial that I've prepared ahead of time here. So I've got a bunch of things related to sports reference, to baseball reference to talk about here. So, all right, here we go. So is everybody able to see baseball reference right now? All right, so the homepage here, you've probably seen it before. This is really the launching pad. There's a lot of different things you can click through from here. We've got some players here. We've got the current season standings. We've got birthdays, recently deceased people, recent debuts, the scores from last night, of course. We've got top performers, top plays. We've got leaderboards and links to the season, and also upcoming games today, the next day, Friday, as well. So the homepage has a lot of different things to click on. People might be familiar with Immaculate Grid, but I might venture as far as to say like the 12 photos here might be the first game that we ever did. We hear from people all the time that they log on every morning or even like on the hour, because this changes hourly, and try to pick, can I name all the 12 guys here? And that's something fun that they do as well. So what I'm going to do is pick something on the homepage that you may not click on all that often, just to show that this is something that we've got here, and it's the previews for games. So we're going to go ahead. Let's pick the Giants and Tigers here. I don't know how many people have looked at these game previews. They've been around for years and years, but they are packed with information. So we have all sorts of stats about the two teams involved, where their standings are, links to different things like their schedule and their lineups and their stats and splits and game logs. We've got records in their last 10, last 20, home, away versus lefties versus righties. We've got a little bit more detailed information about the last 10 games. We have a little more information here about the starting pitchers and their most recent starts and appearances as well, and the stats from their last couple of seasons. We've got the season series, the last 10 games head to head. There's even this grid of Giants batters against Tigers pitchers, which clicks through to one of our stat head tools, which is the batter versus pitcher. So you can click on any of these links and see here, like, wow, this player in one plate appearance has a 4,000 OPS. So I guess Chapman versus Hannafy in that one plate appearance, it was a home run. So that's good to know as well. Small sample, but good to know. You see a lot of these. I picked a game where these players haven't played each other very often, so we were only seeing one or two plate appearances in most cases. We've got 5 here for Torres against Hicks. But this is the game preview, that which I don't know how often you all are using this as well. So you can click here too and see the San Francisco Giants batters stats and the Detroit pitchers stats. And you've got things like the different splits and batters faced in the last 28 days. There's a lot of different information here for getting ready for a game. So let's actually click through now to a box score, because that actually has a lot of things that a lot of details that I don't know, maybe not everybody is familiar with. So let's click on the Dodgers game from last night against the Guardians. And at the top, you have a lot of things you would expect to see in a box score. You've got the line score. You've got the Dodgers hitter stats, although it does have a few more extra things than you might normally see, like the number of pitches and the number of strikes they saw, and win probability stats, and RE24, which is the base out stat that was popularized a while ago in sabermetric circles. You've got your key events that happen, like home runs and runs batted in, that you'd see in a standard box score. We've got our Cleveland hitters here. Sorry, this demo's going to have a lot of scrolling. So if you get seasick, just close your eyes and come back and we'll be good. So I apologize for all the scrolling. Here we are. We get the pitchers now. So that you got your standard innings pitched, hits, runs, walks, and strikeouts, but you've also got batters faced and pitches and strikes by contact, strikes swinging, strikes looking, ground balls, fly balls, line drives, and then occasionally there's an unknown batted ball type. Not so much these days, but if you look at some older box scores, you can find some unknown batted ball types. We've got Well, in this game, we didn't have any inherited runners, but if you've got some relief pitchers coming in the middle of innings, you'll see how many runners they inherited and how many of those scored. And again, we've got the win probability stats and the base out stats. Further down, actually, no, before I go further down, this is something that you may not be familiar with. When you see red text here in like the innings pitched column, or we've got it in the plate appearance column, what you can do is you can actually click and get a little pop-up of the individual plate appearances that the pitcher had. So Santana batted in the second, fourth, sixth, and ninth. Runners on base. This was the situations. Here there was a runner on second. Here there was a runner on first. How many outs there were, who the pitcher was, a description of the play, and the pitch sequence. I'm going to admit something right now. I don't actually know, have committed to memory what all of these play description and pitch sequence shorthand is, but that's something that you can look up if you're curious to see. So you can see that for any of the hitters here. If we look up Martinez here, we can see that there was an out here, a strikeout, and an out here. But if we go to the pitchers, we can see actually an inning by inning summary of their outing. So in the first inning, there were 3 outs, one hit, 3 hits, no hits, pitches and strikes by inning. You can really just see any by inning, and of course with any table here, you can sort the columns as well. You'll see here that I'm relying a lot on the tooltips here. When you hover over a column head, there's often a descriptor here, and I rely on this table sorting a lot, because when you look at a table, how often do you want to see, okay, what's the best, what's the worst? And an easy thing to do is to just, I want to see, who had the most hits in this game. Boom, you can just do it in one click, or who had the fewest, and then if you hit it a third time, it just goes back to where it started. So. Hopefully, if you're going to Baseball Reference, you're doing things like sorting columns all the time because it's super powerful. Further down, we have we have like the umpires and the weather conditions and things like that, but also the starting lineups and this win probability chart. This shows how every single play impacted the win probability of the game. We have the top 5 plays called out. In this game, it was the 3 home runs, of course, were the top hits, but it's not always the case. And then individually, we've got every single play that happened in the game, the play-by-play, the win probability that it added, a description of the play. We've got the runners on base situation. So if you want, you can click and see, well, who was on first and third? And you can pop up this window. I don't know. Has anybody ever looked at this before? All right, I see a couple of no's. So there we go. That's one thing new that people might not know about. I think I helped them design this like 10 years ago or something like that. I kind of forgot about it until recently as well when I was going through box score. It's just one of those cool things that we have in there. So, it's meant to look a little bit like a game screen here, and shows that Conforto was on first, and yeah, shows where all the fielders were at the time and who the pitcher was at the time. Similarly, if you look at the pitch pop-up, you can see what all the individual pitches were. It started with a called strike, swinging strike, then there was a sub or play on the runner. Okay. Oh, and then a ball. I don't know if that maybe a pickoff move or something like that, or No, couldn't have been. There was no runner at that point. I'll have to look at who the heck the runner was on the first batter of the game. So every once in a while we find something like that, and if you write to us, we take a look at it as well. But then we have the rest of the pitches for the at bats. All right, and again we have that through for every single play of the game of every single game that we have. So another cool thing about the scores is if you go to the main page, we have box scores for literally every game in history. So if we went to like May 1st, let's do, I'm going to do 1991. Here we go. I'm going to find the games from May 1st, 1991. These are the results of all of the games, and we've got the standings on that date. You can even switch to do what were the standings after that date. But we'll start with the standings up to that date. We get the AL overall, NL overall, or the individual divisions. But one game that I want to dig into, as you can see here, I don't know, anybody recognize this game from 1991? It is Nolan Ryan's final no-hitter. So here we go. Let's look and see what he did inning by inning. We'll click into this. We can see that he struck out the side in one of the innings, and he struck out somebody in every single inning. Look at that. All right. Big Nolan Ryan guy, so always fun to go back in and look at some of his games. I like looking at box scores like this one, or then like the Kerry Wood game I was looking at recently when we had the anniversary of that game and seeing the incredible lineup that he struck out 20 times. All right, so all right, from here, why don't I go to a player page? I'm in Massachusetts, so I'm gonna pick something that still breaks my heart. I'm gonna go to Mookie Betts, and we're gonna kind of walk through his page a little bit. At the top of the page, we have a ton of biographical information, everything from draft to high school to when their debut was, to even agents and contracts and social media handles and things like that. Over here, we have what we call the players' bling. It is their major awards, things like MVP awards and All-Star games and Hall of Fame if players are inducted, and Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers, batting titles, things like that. And we have this summary at the top of the page as well. Oh, and jersey numbers as well. Like that's something that I kind of take for granted, but we have like the best database of jersey numbers in the history of baseball. So you can go to any franchise and see who's worn that number for them, and players who have worn like 15 numbers over the course of their career is really fun to see. We have this quick summary at the top of the page for 2025 and the career. And then here, this is the inner navigation, is what we call it. So this is to navigate to other Mookie Betts pages or other pages related to Mookie Betts. Before we do that, though, we're going to kind of go through what is on a player page. If you're looking for the most recent, we've got the last 5 games right at the top of the page, and that also has links off to Mookie's game log, splits, home run log, things that we'll look at in a second as well. But you've got your standard batting table. This is the table that was on the backs of baseball cards, but kind of on steroids here. And you can see now we've got WAR and we've got OPS plus and ROBA and RBAT. If you're wondering what ROBA and RBAT plus are, ROBA is our version of WOBA, where it's a weighted on base percentage, on base average. And RBAT plus is essentially if you take the batting component of WAR and index it like OPS plus. So I just like to think of it as a little bit more precise OPS plus, because when you combine OBP and slugging is generally a bigger number. They're on different scales. It works pretty well as shorthand, but if you want to get a little bit more exact, you can use something like RBAT plus. If you find a player who walks a lot and doesn't have a lot of power, like a Willie Randolph type, he'll do better in RBAT plus than OPS plus. It's just a better way to capture the player's value. And of course, we've got things like black ink. When you see that bold ink, it means that they have led their league in that category. And when you see the italics, it means they led all of the major leagues. Wow, and he led the league in something. He pretty much led the entire major leagues in it. So that's pretty impressive. One of the coolest features that I hope you're doing as well If you want to look at his stats just with Boston, you can see them here. If you want to see his stats with just LA, you can do that here. But let's say that you want to look at his stats just from 2018 to 2021, and you can select first row and the last row, and it will calculate all those stats for you. It will total them and then give you an average per season. And then my favorite part, an average per 162 games, which is nice for, if a player's had a couple injuries over the course of a year, or if you've got 2020 mixed in there, that helps to normalize those numbers. All right. So if you see these sparkles here that say upgraded, that's because we've been working on updating all of our tables across all of the sites to use a new format. So things are a lot more standardized within the sport, across the sports. A lot of times you'll see the same features across all of the tables now. So we'll look at some of the other tables here. Oh, I totally forgot. One of the things that we added too as part of that was the playoffs table. We always had the postseason table below that has the stats by individual series, but this is the first time we've really had stats for the full postseason year in one place. So you can see, like in the entire 2020 postseason, he hit 296 with 2 homers and 8 RBIs. You had to add up the postseason series prior to do that. And it has all of the same total rows like you see and on the standard batting. And of course, you can total it up like on the other tables as well. All right, so moving on, value batting. So we've got WAR on the main table now, but value batting is where we have traditionally had our WAR stat, but it also has like all of the components that go into WAR. So our bat is the batting component. Our base R is the base running component. RDP is the runs avoided by double runs above average by avoiding or grounding into double plays, which apparently is a unique skill. And sometimes you get a player like Jim Wynn who's like super good at it. Our field is their fielding runs above average. That is independent of the position because has a value separately. So this is like, for the positions that he did play, he was this much above average than the other players at that position, which, holy cow. Sometimes I forget just how good Mookie Betts has been defensively over the course of his career. That's just absurd. And total all those up for runs above average, and then they can get converted into wins above average, and then runs from replacement level. So a player, I swear this isn't going to be a WAR tutorial, so I'm just going through this quickly. When a player accrues playing time that has value above replacement level, as long as they were an average player, and then that gets calculated into wins above replacement. And there are some additional statistics here too that use our WAR numbers as well. But for the most part, that's where you go to see the more detailed version of our WAR stat with all of the components and other modifiers. Advanced batting is the table that we've added most recently. It was probably 2 or 3 years ago at this point. And when I mentioned those additional pages above, like we have this entire advanced stats page that a lot of people didn't know about. So what we did here was we added this table kind of as a way to summarize some of the data that you can find there. And that was the first place that we had ROBA and RBAT plus. You got batting average on balls in play, but also like batting ratios, some batted ball data, including a couple of StatCast metrics here, like exit velocity and hard hit percentage. Did people know that Baseball Reference had exit velocity at all, or does that come as a surprise to anyone? You've got like your line drive percentages and fly ball percentages and pulling and opposite and win probability stats, base running stats. I always like this extra base taken percentage. It's a fun measure of seeing how often a player takes the extra base, which that's the type of thing that feeds into like the base running component of WAR, where even if a player doesn't steal a ton of bases, he can have a lot of base running value just by taking the extra bases when a single is hit and he goes to third, or scores all the way from first on a double. Things like that are worth a lot. All right. Just quickly going down the rest of the page, we have our comparison tool, which we may go over later. This is the table I mentioned before with the individual postseason series. Don't look at this. This is a bug right now, which for some reason we're showing the postseason pitching table, even though he never pitched. So I reported that today. Sorry about that. I use this table a lot more often now with Immaculate Grid, the appearances table. It's just a quick summary of seeing how many games the player played at a position. Uh, so sometimes I'll check. I think it was right field today. I punched in a couple players that I knew played in the outfield, but I wasn't positive they played in right field. So then just checking my work and finding out, ooh, they actually did play like 8 games in right field or 26 games in right field or whatever. This is an easy way to find that. And we have that in the playoffs as well. And then, standard fielding has the actual fielding stats at all of these positions. So each season will have multiple rows if they played multiple positions. And this is relatively new where we have the black ink on the fielding as well. We did not have that before, but it's cool to see when players are leading in all of these categories as well. Because, leading in defensive metrics is the thing as well. And the leaderboards, we've got everything from all-star games to awards and MVP voting, where you can see, what percentage of the or what share of the vote they had and what their ranking was. And in every category that they ranked on the leaderboard, you can see where they what their number was, where they ranked, and there's a link to go through to that leaderboard. And if they're on the active or career leaderboards, you can click through to those as well. Right now, we're like hiding the seasons that are in the top 10, but if you go up to the top and say expand all leaderboards, you can see everywhere that they finished in the top 10. Then the number one is always going to be bolded, and the active and career totals will always be at the bottom. Even going further down, there are things like some more old school Hall of Fame metrics like the Hall of Fame monitor and Hall of Fame standards from Bill James. But we also have some new school Jay Jaffe Jaws data here, where you can click through to Jaws leaderboards. And you can see that Mookie here is already 8th all time at his position, which it's Mookie Betts. What is his position? But I guess right field is the place where he has the most value. And of course, the similarity scores, where these are based on the Bill James metrics as well, that he published many, many years ago. And we have transaction history, which I keep trying to delete this one, but they don't let me do it. And we have salary history for players as well. And because it's Mookie Betts, we do have his partial bowling record, because he had 3 very famous perfect games. I promise this wasn't the reason I was showing Mookie Betts. I forget that was there until taking a look at it now. So there are so many other player pages in addition to this one. I mean, you would think that, this is a lot of information. How could there possibly be more? Well, you can actually go through and click through to minor league and fall league stats as well. And this is what we call our register page. And this will have Japanese data, KBO, or some of the early non-major Negro Leagues Black Baseball type stats will be in this section of the site. We have some college for recent years. There's a lot of stuff here. It's not complete, but we've got a lot of additional data here, particularly for the more modern players. It's much more complete. Although you'd be surprised how complete it is for the U.S. minor leagues as well. And even here we had prospect rankings for Mookie, which it's hard to believe it's not that long ago that he was a number 62 ranked prospect. I was wow, that's lower than I would have thought for Mookie. What other pages do we have here? So we've got splits. So if we go to his career splits, we can see his platoon splits, home or away, first or second half, months, in wins and losses. Like there's so much here by defensive position, batting order position, by count, by number of outs in the inning. Any type of way you'd want to slice and dice the information, you can find it here with the bases loaded. And because this is red, you can go in and click, and this might not be something to know about. You can actually see year by year what his stats were with the bases loaded, and yeah, pretty good. And of course, these are all sortable and have their tooltips as well. And I promise there are more splits there, but and then I'm not going to go through all of them. And of course, you can see splits for a single season as well. Now I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to go to game logs and can see game by game. First, we have the summary at the top where you can see things like who he drove in the most. And for Mookie, it was himself. Uh, and he was most driven in by Freddie Freeman. Number of batters on base, number of runners on base when he batted. And then the main table here is game by game, every single game that he played. We have all these incredibly detailed stats for, and here you can see we've got that plate appearance summary here as well. So you can see one by one what his individual plate appearances were. A couple of things here, like if you wanted to see what he hit in his in the first 20 games for his team that year, you click on that red 20, that's the team game, and you can see, the team's record and then his stats through those games. If you wanted to see what his stats were in his first 1,300 career games, we show that this was his 1,300th career game, and you can total the games all the way, all the stats all the way through 1,300 here. And then, of course, with the same thing as the other, if you wanted to look at games 18 through 29, it'll summarize those as well. So there's so many different ways, like whether you want like the first X games of the season, the first X games of his career, or even just specific games in the middle. There's so many ways to select it and total it and see what the average is, and the average over 162 games, and anything you could possibly want. And of course, these are sortable too. So, what are the most hits that he had this season? He had a 5-hit game in April. All right, so I'm going to next go to the postseason game logs, because we have that also with this divider between seasons here. So these are his career postseason numbers. So it's all the same type of stuff through his first 50 postseason games. You could click that and see what he did through those numbers as well. And that could be useful if, like, if X player played 50 games, you can compare them to this other player and see how they each did in their first 50 games. All right, and this of course has the row summing as well. For that advanced batting page that I mentioned, this one has a lot of the same tables repeated. So it's got the last 5 games, the standard batting, the value batting, and the advanced. But then there's a table for sabermetric batting. One thing that I kind of like in this is that as it shows batting average, OBP, slugging, and OPS, it also shows the league stat for each of those as well. And that can give you a better idea of where the OPS plus comes in. Uh, the AIR is actually a way to measure the ballpark rating that the player had that year, and the ballparks that he played in. We've got the postseason batting table again. We've got all-star batting. We've got ratio batting, win probability, base running stats. So, if you want to see things like outs on the base at home, you can look at that year by year. There's so much here. Or what's this one? On second, when a single is hit and the runner scores. So, that's how many times he was on second and he scored when the player hit a single. So if you're ever curious about that, you know where to find it now. Situational batting, that's where you can find things like, their pinch hitting stats, or how often they sacrifice in the different compared to the attempts they make, or double plays against double play opportunities. You can see he only has a double play 7.4% of the time, when league average over the course of his career has been 10.4. Same type of thing for base running advances and things like that. Pitch summaries, how often he sees certain pitches in certain counts. Cumulative batting, so what were his career batting stats after each of the years, and then a neutralized batting stats table that has stats for each player in a neutralized setting. So if you did want to compare, Bob Gibson to Pedro Estacio or something like that, you could bring them both up and see what they might do in a neutral location. How's that for 2 players that you never thought you'd hear together? Bob Gibson and Pedro Stasio. All right, so another page that we have that pretty underrated as well is the home run log, which this is cool because not only do we have it for all the games that we have coverage of, which go pretty much back to 1901. This one we even have for the 19th century as well. So if you want to look at like Lip Pike's home runs or Ross Barnes home runs, you can do that too. So there's a summary of the teams that he hit them for, home and road, what the base situations were, the innings and things like that. But of course, here's just the main list of all of the home runs. And here's where you can also see things like that situation of who was in the field and who was on base at the time. And this is the same thing here with the pitch summary as well. Yeah, that ball in play was not in play much longer. All right, so this is all of his home runs, so you can sort them by inning or by win probability or the batting order position he was in, or by the pitcher and see, here's 4 against Chris Archer, for example. All right, so that is the home run log, and also in the advanced stats, I'm gonna switch players to touch on this one. I'm gonna go to Yadier Molina because I don't know. Have people had discussions about catcher framing and things like that, and how that should feed into Hall of Fame discussions? Now, Baseball Reference right now has made the decision that we don't have catcher framing in our WAR model, but we do have the stats available if you wanted to see it. So if you go to Advanced Fielding Stats and go to sabermetric fielding, the let's see, which one is it? The catcher strike zone runs here is what the framing runs are. So in 2013, Yadi could have had another 14 runs if we included the catcher framing runs. So since 2011, which is when Sports Info Solutions has the data, which is our data provider, he had 36 catcher framing runs, which translates to another 3.5 WAR approximately. Now, that doesn't include some of his early seasons, which could also bump his total up as well. So standard fielding is a place to get like much more detail on the advanced stats, like even like outfielders, if you want to look at, well, how many runs came from their range and how much from their arm, you can find that type of data as well on those advanced sabermetric fielding tables. All right, now let's look at a team. We'll go to the Phillies. Sports References from Philly. We'll go with the Phillies, but we're going to look at last year, so we have a full season. Although maybe we should have picked a postseason team, so there would have been some. Yeah, we'll run with it. We'll run with it. All right, so you can see here, this is just a visual of the team's season with wins and losses, and wins by how much and losses by how much. The faces here of the top players by WAR. And then I won't go through this in detail because it's one of these upgraded tables. It's all the same stats and awards and all the other features that you're used to seeing on the other tables, just now shown in a team setting. So it should feel very familiar. You can switch to get the playoffs as well. Oh, it was a playoff team. What was I talking about? There we go. And then on the rest of the page, we've got the standard pitching. We've got the full season roster and appearances. I always like seeing where players are coming from, what countries we've got here. We've got a pretty good Dominican and Venezuelan contingent here, and a player from Panama, Edmundo Sosa. We've got the coaching staff, fielding, value batting, that's the WAR table, the value pitching, and a lot of subpages as well. Let's look at schedule and results. There's a lot of things here, like this season summary has a lot of data that you might find interesting. Things like the biggest lead that they had, the most games that they were over 500, longest winning streaks and losing streaks, most runs allowed, most runs scored, most times they were shut out, the largest comeback, blown leads, the largest blown lead, walk-off wins and losses, things like that. And then further down, of course, you've just got every single game, a link to the box score, win, loss, save, the attendance, where their rank was in the division at the time, how many games back they were, and things like that. Let's see. So we're going to go to team game logs now, and we will click on the batting game logs. And let's see. We can see who the opponent's starter was, the game score was. This is the totals for all of the stats on the team for every player in the lineup. We have something similar for pitching game logs as well, where you can see the player totals. You can see a table of the run support that players had. The average was 4.94. 5 times there was 0 run support. 24 times there was 4 run support. Next, I want to show some batting splits too. Actually, I'm going to show this on last year's Dodgers because I had a good example I wanted to share that shows a couple of these key stats that we have in our batting splits. So the batting splits have a lot of the same splits from all of the player page splits that we saw. I'm going to go to let's find runners in scoring position. For bases occupied. I'm going to click on this, and this will show me every single player and their stats with runners in scoring position. So I don't know. Did people know about this one? This one's super cool, where you're on a team split, and you can jump in and see the individual player stats as well. And the one I wanted to call out too is we have TOPS plus, which is the player's OPS in this split compared to their typical performance. And SOPS plus is the player's performance in this split against the average player in this split. And to help describe that, you'll see that there's a huge disparity for Ohtani here with runners in scoring position. His OPS was 905, which he only has an 80 for the TOPS because 905 is great, but not for Ohtani. That was actually under his performance. So that's why he's got an 80 TOPS plus, because it's less than he usually is. But he has a 143 SOPS plus because that's really good for any batter with runners in scoring position. Hopefully that makes sense. So he wasn't great for Ohtani, but he was great for anyone else. All right. And let's see. Team fielding is a cool way to see like a summary like this at the top of the page. But what I like is to see like, well, who was doing all the games behind the plate? You know, who was playing every single game at first base when like Freeman wasn't there or something like that. It's a good way to see who got the starts and who got the share of the innings at that position. There are a lot of these other pages. We've got transactions. We have the defensive lineups. So that shows like game by game what the defensive lineup was. Similarly, we've got the batting orders game by game. And the coloring here is so you can see like when there was a change. So it's all Smith until we see Hernandez here. Then it's back to Smith and Hernandez. Apparently it was just Hernandez getting a little getting in once a week to give Smith some time. We've got the amateur draft here, where you can go in and look for players that the Dodgers picked in June of 2024 and run that and see the players that they got there. This draft tool, gosh, you can do so many other things. I feel like this is a whole other topic in itself. I'll touch on it later, actually. And yeah, that then if you go back to the Dodgers page, and you go to the franchise page, now you've got all sorts of other things that you can look at, not just for this one season of the Dodgers, but for their entire franchise history. Everything from old names that they had and their records with those names, retired numbers. This is year by year summary of the Dodgers' performance. So you can see their wins and losses, but also the runs scored and allowed, and their attendance, and their average ages, and top players, and things like that. I'm going to, gosh, there's so many subpages here. So you can look at that year by year batting and pitching stats for the team. You can also look at, oh, wait, before I do that, does anybody have an idea who the number one all-time player, position player is in WAR for the Dodgers? This one surprised me when I was preparing for it. I won't have people call out, but it's actually Pee Wee Reese. I never would have thought that. So you can expand the leaderboards here and see he just edges out Duke Snyder by a few wins, and Jackie is just a little bit behind, of course, because he had the shorter career. But yeah, nobody had 70 position player WAR for the Dodgers, which surprised me a little bit. All right, so that's like leaders for batting and fielding and I don't know if we have fielding, but batting and pitching. This people drop down has the opening day starters every year for the Dodgers. It has the year by year managers, well, the managerial totals, I guess. Uh, Starters shows the typical starter at each position for that team year by year, which is just kind of a cool way to get an overall look at like how the personnel has changed for that franchise over the years. And then similarly, we have that for pitching. But then this players section for this is just batting totals with the Dodgers. So who had the most home runs with the Dodgers? Duke Snyder, 389. Who had the most stolen bases? 490. Who had the most runs? No, it was not Maury Wills. It's actually 10th, right? Yeah. I was surprised. It's Pee Wee Reese. There we go. Um, and then, yeah, so that's everything in the people drop down. I really hope that you're finding some things in here that you didn't know about on the site. I'm trying to expose all these little rabbit holes that you can keep diving down.
Yeah,
You
there's
can see that.
some comments about people say, "Hey, I didn't know that." So you're hitting the mark.
Excellent. That's what I'm hoping to hear. Yeah, all-star stats for players representing the Dodgers is another one here, and we've got a list of Hall of Famers that played with the Dodgers as well. This isn't necessarily inducted as as a Dodger, but played for the Dodgers. So we've got like Dick Allen, who I think maybe only one season. Wait, look at that. There's a website they can check that on. Yes, one season with the Dodgers, and it was a good one. Oh gosh, and then you can look and see all of the minor league affiliates for the Dodgers over the course of their history. This opens up now it's like, okay, now we can explore all of the minor leagues. So I'm not even going to dive into this right now, but you can see that this goes really, really deep into the minor league history of the Dodgers, and we have rosters and stats for most of those seasons as well. All right. Now I'm actually going to go to a league page and just go to, it's not just baseball history. We've got 2025 Major League Baseball as well. And we can see on this page, there's everything from standings where you can not only the typical standings, but you can dive in and get the more detailed standings for things like records against certain handed pitchers and extra innings and one run games and last 10, last 20, last 30. But also, this is a cool place to find the stats for every single player in the league. So on this batting page, you've got the stats for all of the teams, which you can, of course, sort and find who. 264 is the best. I'm getting old. Then underneath that, we have every single player in the league, and you can see the black ink. You can sort to find any player that you want. There's also, if we filter by something like OPS, it'll automatically hide non-qualifiers. So you're not getting the player who, hit a double in their only at bat and have a, super high OPS or anything like that. You scroll down a little bit, we'll get to the league average row here and see how far down that is. So that'll move around as you're sorting the columns as well. But yeah, this is every single player in the league. We've got that not just for the standard batting, but if you go to the base running miscellaneous, remember that extra bases taken I mentioned? Well, who's the best in the league at it? Well, by team, it's the Detroit Tigers. Who knew? I did not know. Wow, that's a big difference between the Blue Jays and the Tigers. But if we go to the players, we've got McKinstry, 83. I don't know how much play. Well, you can see Ellie De La Cruz. Of course, he plays all the time too. Oh yeah, plate appearances are right here. So yeah, McKinstry does play quite a bit. All right. So it's not just, the standard batting. You can look in and go and like this is the WAR stat. So who has the best fielding in the league? Texas Rangers right now above the Atlanta Braves. Who has the best R field in the league? Just Taylor Walls. And all right. We are going to next go to, you can see managers. And not only do we just list the managers, but we have everything like challenges and how many were overturned and ejections. Who leads the league in ejections this year? Mama with 3. And we can go down to tendencies as well. I noticed that, what was it? The Twins hadn't attempted a single steal of third this year. That's the only team that hasn't done that. And you can see rate plus, that's like an OPS plus. Like, how often does this manager sacrifice bunt? You've got these that are more than twice the normal, and then like 99 is right around average. So think of it similarly like an OPS plus type thing. The tendencies here: Don Kelly around average with stealing second, but Kevin Cash is running a lot more compared to the league. All right, so that's managers, and of course, a fun page is the playoff odds, where you can see what the current odds are for each of the teams. This one gets cited pretty often when people are talking on social media. I think we had, I think it was the Brewers last year, we had really high and people were slamming us for it, and then it didn't end up looking so bad. We can see the changes over time as well here on the playoff odds. So I also want to make sure that I mention, like, if we go to, we added the Negro League stats back in 2021. So if you go to a player like Josh Gibson, and you can go through to the 1943 Negro National League as well, and see the detailed standings there, and you can see the batting stats for, the Negro Leagues as well, where you can see not only Josh Gibson leading the league in just about everything, but you can see like the historic season by Tatello Vargas. And let's see, I think we had Sammy Bankhead leading the league in steals that year as well. And you can, of course, sort by the awards too to see who the all-stars were in that league as well. So as much as we can, every single stat that's available for the American and National League is available for the Negro Leagues as well. All right. Next topic I want to talk about is leaders. But boy, do we have a lot of leaderboards on the site. I noticed we're already at 753. Holy cow, that flew. A couple things here, and then I am going to stop for questions because I want to hear from you. So I'm going to touch on some of the leaderboards and then some of the frivolity pages that we have. So leaderboards, we have single season, career, active, and then progressive, which I'll show one of those, yearly league, and year by year top 10. So what's a progressive leaderboard? So let's look at the progressive home runs. So this will show progressively who was the career leader, the single season leader, the active leader, and the leader for that year. So we can see early on the aforementioned, actually, Lit Pike was the home run champion up until 1879 when Charlie Jones passed him. But then you can see that Harry Stovey was the all-time home run leader, and Roger Connor, and then Babe Ruth joins the league, and we've got him on both the single season and career lists for quite a while until he's passed by Maris, of course, in 1961 in the single season, and Aaron in 1974, and then Barry Bonds, of course, ends up being the number one guy in both of those. So, yeah, we can see here that the active leader now is Mike Trout. Don't know if I was aware of that. I guess it makes sense since Pujols retired and Mickey retired that it would be among that group. Um, what's going on here with the, yeah, so I guess, yeah, anyway, that's just counting players that played that year. Going back to the leaders index, was there another leaderboard that I wanted to show? Let's see. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of custom leaderboards, I'll call them, here at the bottom, where we have things like the oldest and youngest players and age-based leaderboards. So leaderboards through a certain age or after a certain age. And then there's the Jaws leaderboards, MVP and Cy Young award shares, most games without a World Series or postseason appearance, most franchises played for. So you're looking for your Edwin Jackson All-Stars here. RIP Octavio Dotel, an Immaculate Grid favorite there as well. But the Cy Young and MVP award shares, it's always cool to take a look and see who had the most shares of the MVP and Cy Young awards without actually winning one. And Al Simmons basically got 3.5 MVP awards worth of votes, but never actually got one. And if you go to his page, you can see he was like constantly in the top 5 or top 10 throughout the course of his career. So We also have playoffs here at the top. I'm going to very quickly just show my favorite playoff series ever because we've got this cool graphic, the 2004 ALCS, and we have the win probability. Where was that? Oh, what was there? There it is. Series win probability chart, and you can see that the Red Sox had no hope, and then suddenly David Ortiz happened, and they all climbed back, and as Sarah Langs likes to say. I like that. All right. So the last thing that I want to talk about is in the footer. Gosh, there's even more things. I feel like I could show you things for hours here. Let's talk a little bit about frivolities. And this is just some of the cool, quirky pages that we've added to the site. One of them is actually the thing that put us on the alert for Immaculate Grid when this page started getting used over and over again. So this is the players who played for multiple franchises. So you want somebody who played for the Braves and the Cubs can just easily find a whole list of the players who played for both of those franchises. We've got a summary of some of the top players, but then show every single player, and there's hundreds of them, which is what makes Immaculate Grid so fun because you can pull from a deep, deep list of players. We also have, players who were born on this day. I haven't checked this yet today to see who the top player by WAR is on who was born today. Kirk Gibson. There you go. Famously, one of the top players by WAR, maybe the top player, who did not appear in an All-Star game. Oh, look at that. Bill Doran didn't either. And then you can, of course, pick whatever birthday that you want. So, who's born on April Fool's Day? You can go ahead and search that and find that the top WAR player on April Fool's Day was Phil Negro. All right. I mentioned that, let's see, the draft. There was so many different things that you can look at on the draft pages as well. You can just look for all of the number one picks ever, like Travis Bazana. Here we go. You can click in and see his minor league data, and you can see here we've got his Australian league data, his college data, his Cape Cod league data, and minor league data. So there's a lot of different stuff you can look at here. Gosh, all right. That is so many things. I feel like I threw a lot at you. So I am going to stop and just kind of see what we've got for questions.
Okay, I'm gonna hit on a couple of these that are in the comments. Molly, I will get to you. The comment stuff was in there first. If anybody that's in chronological order there in the comments wants to chime in and ask your question yourself or clarify your question, I'm cool with that. I'm gonna start with Doug Rubin. That was the first one that popped up. And I think what you're asking about, Doug, is it's his number of pitches by recent game for the bullpens that you want to see if you can find that stat. I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah, it's like a tote board that they show which pitchers are, have capacity to pitch that night, for example.
Yep.
I'm sure that's in there somewhere.
Gosh, I wonder if it's in the game previews. Do we touch on the bullpens at all here? Don't see it here. I think it's focused on the starters, but that would be a good place to put it. Um, using tools like StatHead, you can search for the number of pitches thrown by the relief pitchers on a team over a certain date range. I don't know off the top of my head if like that is something that we have on reference offhand. I would assume it's not then, but I can see where, especially with the way the game is changing, that is something that would be very helpful to have.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming a regular on. I mean, I'm not watching all the broadcasts, but it seems to be a regular feature now on the Yankees broadcast. So, because that's what I watch. I don't want to say I don't watch other games, but I don't have MLB TV, so it's whatever's on the Yankee game plus whatever's on national broadcasts. Okay, anyway, enough about me. Okay, Robert Del Rossi asks, what's the advantage of your version of WOBA?
Oh, that's the type of questions that I would love to hand to our data director. I'm not an advanced sabermetrician. I will say that there are some small minor differences in the way our WAR and WAR from other sites is calculated, and our ROBA and RBAT Plus are consistent with those, so they use those similar methodologies. Um, yeah, I apologize. I can't really run off the differences off the top of my head, though.
I'm looking for the next. Okay. Back to Douglas Rubin. How come O war and plus D war rarely equals total war?
Yes, that is a good question. So I do know the answer to that one. What's a player I should bring up for that one? We can go back to Mookie. That's fine because I'm sure his is not the same. So O war is essentially everything. It assumes that a player is an average fielder at their position. So it's O war, but it does include the player's position.
Right.
But it doesn't include essentially how good they are at that position. And D war includes both the position and how good they were at the position. So therefore, they don't add up to war because this component, the position, the RPOS, that's included in both of them. So if you did O war plus D war minus that double counted position, you would get war.
That's great. Thank you for that's a great explanation. I get it.
Excellent. Glad to hear
Adam's
that.
awesome.
I'm just so happy I knew how to answer that one.
Okay, from Mike Bass, and I really like this one. Is there anything you can click on that shows what date somebody hit their 100th home run or had their 1,000th hit?
Absolutely. So let's well, there's a couple of different ways to do it, so I can do it with both of them. So let's do we'll go to the home run log to find Mookie's 100th home run. And you can see here, this has columns for its by the number of their career, number of the year, and number of the game. So we're gonna find 100th of his career, and that is this one here. So that way we can find that it was against Jason Hamill when he was playing for the Red Sox against the Royals, and we can click through the box score and we can find exactly where it was. It was his only home run in the game. Let's see, it was in the first inning. So let's go to the play-by-play, and it was it led off the game. There we go. That's home run number 100. Now, if I wanted to find Mookie's 1,000th hit, I would go back to his player page. And let's see, what would be the best way to do this? Well, you could eyeball it and say his 1,000th hit came not in that season because he had 789. So I could click and add, well, I should add a couple more seasons here. We're at 1029. All right. So his 29th hit of 2020 was his 1,000th. So I'm going to go into 2020 and let's find that 29th hit. Let's see. I'll do the similar row summing here. How many hits do I have so far? I've got 23. I've got 29. All right. So it happened in this game, and you can see, we'll just double check our work. We'll see through 817 games, he had, wait, 994. I must have done something wrong. Through 818. Oh, he didn't have any hits in that game. So it must have come in this 822 here. Oh, he's still at 998. Maybe I wasn't looking at that column. Is this it right here? 826. Oh, it has to be 824. There we go. 1,000 hits. So it's a little bit of whack-a-mole, but you can do it. You can use a couple different tools to try to get your way in there. Home run log, we have the specific home run log for, so it's a little bit quicker, but any other stat you can do this way that I just showed. You could find his 40th grounded into double play if you wanted to.
Now, this one's going to test your memory a little bit, Adam. It's from Matthew Glidden. What are some other crossover sports people you'd recommend checking out, similar to how Mookie's page has bowling info?
Oh gosh, here we go. believe we've got some rodeo results here from Madison Bumgarner. Where is it? Here we go. Rodeo competition winnings. Again, not complete, but we've got some of his rodeo winnings here. Um, Gosh, do we have uh Wade Boggs and any of his fishing records? That's another one I could think of, but I'll if anybody knows of others, they can drop it in the chat as well.
Yeah.
But there we go, Madison Bumgarner in the rodeo.
Cool. And I think you just answered this with the demo of how to find the milestones. But again, from Mike Bass, is there a way you can plug in a date and it lists which players may have had milestone hits or wins?
Not yet, but that's something that, well, we haven't really talked about date, but we've been talking about it like on a box score level. Like if you go to like one of these old box scores, like I want to know what happened in this game. Did somebody have their 100th home run? Did somebody make their major league debut? But I could see doing that on the date level as well. So when you go to the scores page and go back to like May 27th of, uh let's see, let's go to 1981. Oh, that's probably the strike wasn't happening at that time, but I don't want to pick a strike year. But you go to this date, tell me, what cool happened on this date. We've got the standings, we've got all the games. We could totally list the home runs that happened this game. We can list the debuts, we can list any milestones. So I like that idea. We have the data, we just got to do it. So yeah, I'd love to hear more if someone wants to shoot me an email about that.
Okay, cool. Molly.
Thank you for this great presentation, Adam. I was wondering if in all this data you have anywheres like what scouts scouted people.
Let's see. Do we have the scout find players? Well, if I'll look on this page for Red Murph. I don't think we do. I don't think we do. That data I know is out there, so I'd have to, I'd have to talk to our data folks and see if that's something that could be added. But yeah, I don't think we have that right now.
Dixie, before I get to you, I just want to compliment Adam and the sports reference team, because it seems like here you say, oh, let's see if that's something we could do. You guys are just so interested in really hearing what your users have to say and looking to improve based on that feedback. And it's not just falling on deaf ears. So I just want to thank you for that.
I really appreciate that. We have a ridiculously great customer success team. Shout out to Aiden Jackson Evans, Chris Marshall, Katie Sharp. They're awesome. If you write to us, you're going to get a response. They answer all the emails, and they let us know what recommendations people have, and then we discuss them as a team. And gosh, we wish we could do all of them, but there's themes of things that we're working on at a time, and everything that you share with us, when we get to a theme that's related to that, it's always helpful to have that feedback to draw from.
Dixie.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
I would say that this is astounding, but we passed astounding 30 minutes ago. But I would like to know if you can explain, if you can just try to explain to an old guy like me what it takes in terms of time and people power to put all of this stuff in here seemingly on a day-by-day basis, because I don't see how it's done.
Well, I have to say, it takes a village, and that's not just within our company as well. Like we rely on the SABR community, we rely on RetroSheet and the tons of volunteers they have, and we're taking this data and presenting it, and I hope that we're being good stewards of this information here. But we do have a team of over 40 people now. That's we've got multiple sports and college sites and Stathead and Immaculate Grid, and we're doing a lot of different things now. When I joined, just 4.5 years ago, there were 15 of us, and now it's grown quite a bit. So, I mean, it takes a lot of different people. We have people whose entire jobs is to keep an eye on the servers and make sure that, everything's running through properly. We have people who share on social media so that people know about the things that we're doing. We, of course, have a bunch of people who are writing code for all of these sites, and things like the redoing the tables to be more consistent across all the sports and within the site. That takes a huge team of people to do over the course of months, if not years. So it takes a ton of work, but we're just thrilled that people are using it that allow us to keep doing this type of work because it's awesome.
It seems like you would need 400 to 500 people to do all this.
We're very lucky that we find a lot of great people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Sean.
All right, so I know there's some pretty decent information on the bullpen part of Baseball Reference. Is there any plans to include any more All-American Girls stats or like individual player pages or anything like that?
That is something that has been discussed. I think that would be absolutely awesome. I believe the data is out there. So that's another one of the things that I'll pass on to our data team and see if that's something that we can get on the roadmap, because it'd be cool.
Okay, we're going to do last call for questions before I wrap part 1. Going once, going twice. Okay.
Yeah,
Dan, are you?
sorry.
Go ahead, Paul.
Donna.
Go ahead. No, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just finished my certification courses for SABR so have the capability to do my own programming offline, and I'm interested in how to get the season, career, player logs, team logs. So when I have my own weird question like who has the most home runs on an 0-2 count, I can just sort of download data and spend an hour figuring it out myself, because there are sometimes questions that you just don't click and find.
Yeah, so one thing that I didn't even get the chance to talk about was Stathead, which is another one of our products. I feel like I could talk a whole other hour about this, so I'm going to spare you of that. It is a paid subscription product, but it's an affordable paid subscription product. But what you can do is, and I'll give a super quick, you can use these tools to find seasons and games, splits, streaks, spans, and what you want is events. There's a batting event finder. And you said, who has the most 0-2 home runs. So you can use these filters on the right here. I want to find, let's see, where's 0-2? It's hidden here. 0-2. So we've got 0-2 count, home runs, and let's switch it all the way back to 1912. Who had the most? We can just quickly run a search like that and see. No, that doesn't seem right. It says that there's no home runs. Okay, let me try 2025 again, see if. All right, so we've got home runs in 2025. That's all home runs in 2025. So let me see what I did wrong here. So where's the count? There we go. 0-2. So we've got the 0-2 filter. Now let me make sure that I can filter it looks like the count is not working. That's a bummer. I found a bug, just the thing I wanted to show you. But anyway, this would be how you do it. So if you wanted to say, who hit the most home runs as a catcher, let's see if that one will work for me right now. You could run that all time. And this is not home runs. All right, we got something wrong with the event finder right now. Bummer, just as I was going to show it to you. But normally that would be the tool that you would use to do that. So maybe one day when we get this back up and running, I can do a Stathead one and walk people through that as well.
Oh yeah, we're having you back. Don't you worry. Paul, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ignore your question. I thought that Dan's comment had covered it. So, but Dan, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, it took me a minute to remember where the race hand thing was.
That's okay.
Just really two comments. The first is, I don't know if we all remember like an hour ago when this amazing presentation started, but there was that random like sub or something with Shohei Ohtani leading off the game. And I went back and looked, and it's when he called timeout with 2 strikes. So
Okay.
apparently that's what's getting pulled into is timeouts. Because I saw in some of the sequences there would just be like periods there, and I wonder if maybe that's kind of the same thing with that. And also too, I love the birthday thing. At MLB.com, we've done stories for every day of the year, and we had people write up certain days. I did like 3 of them, where we picked like the top 5 based on Baseball Reference WAR and did like little bios, and then at the bottom listed others of note, and then at the very bottom it's a link to Baseball Reference page where you can just see all of them. So that's always a fun one to like go back and look. And this is one of my favorites, like Nolan Ryan's birthday. And if you click on the January 31st there, you'll see all the players born that day. He's one of 3 Hall of Famers on that day, and it's a pretty heavy birthday.
Let's see if I remember. I know it's Jackie. Who's that third one? I don't remember.
I wrote this one, so I know it.
Oh, Ernie Banks. Okay.
Anyway,
I
that's
love
all I
it.
have. Thank you.
I really appreciate that. Love the writing that you do, and I love when we get the links from MLB.com. That's lovely for us.
Okay, we're going to go with last question from Matthew Glidden.
Hey, Adam. Thank you. I have, in general, when we think about the structure here, it's easy for me, as baseball focused as I am, to think about this as purely a baseball exercise. Can you speak at least a little about how this ties in with the other sports in terms of maturity, in terms of sophistication relative to the others that are on the site?
Yeah, one thing you'll notice is that we cover team sports. So a lot of the things that we do will carry across to the other sports. All the sports that we cover have seasons, have players, have teams, have generally franchises. The one sport that we do cover that challenged some of these things was soccer. That has teams playing multiple competitions at the same time. There's no real designation of what's major and what's not, and that type of thing. So a lot of the things that we build, and we try to do this on purpose, a lot of the things that we're building will work across the sports, which gives us an advantage because if we're not just building a baseball feature in that case, if we're upgrading our game logs, we're doing it for every sport that we cover, which is just an awesome advantage to have because there of course are competitors for sports data across all the different sports, but there aren't too many that do it across all the major ones like we've been doing, which has helped us.
You good, Matthew?
Yes, I secretly, of course, I'm just thinking of things like lists of all the guys who are professional NBA players and professional baseball players. But then why give up all of my grid matches by just saying them out loud? Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
Well, we do have fun things like if you go to Basketball Reference and look at, Danny Ainge, then you can see under the More menu, we've got, minors at Baseball Reference, and you can go ahead. Live demos, shakes my fist. I think we changed the way the search works, and it looks like that link relied on the old one. But what would have happened is it would have gone to Danny Ainge here, and we would have seen his Baseball Reference page and his stellar 47 OPS plus. But hey, he's a Hall of Famer, so I give him all the credit in the world.
Yeah, I secretly hope that like all of the guys who ever played for the Globetrotters will knit their way in here somehow, because I know Bob Gibson was reputedly on that list, and there's a lot of fun deep names.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we haven't even scratched the surface on what Adam had planned to share, never mind the part 2 and part 3. So rest assured, Adam and I have already talked. We don't have dates yet, but he will be back. So Adam, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for generously donating so much of your talent and time to us this evening. People should know that in addition to having Adam back for the Researcher Series, Adam is also a prolific collector of Julio Franco baseball cards, as well as barrier breakers. And he started collecting just a little less than a year ago. Is that right, Adam?
A little less than a year ago, yeah.
And he's got quite the impressive collection already. So there will be a baseball card talk with Adam at some other point in the future. We're going to be seeing a lot of Adam, which I think is a great thing. Also, if anybody's going to SABR 53, Adam will be there. I will be there. I know a lot of other people on this call will be there. But before we get to SABR 53, we've got 2 more meetings coming up that I want to remind everybody about. On June 11th, and speaking of baseball cards, creative strategist Casey Barber is going to be with us. Casey is the wonderful artist who designed our chapter logo, both the daytime and the nighttime version. She is multi-talented, and one of her things that she's really great about is organizing. And she is going to show us how to use a program called Notion, which I am now a huge fan of. I know some others on this call have used it and use it regularly to organize your baseball card collection. And I'm sure it's easily adaptable to other collections as well. So that's June 11th, our regular time, 7 p.m. And then on June 18th, session 2 of our researcher series with Cassidy Lent, the head of the Giamatti Research Center at the Baseball Hall of Fame. So keep those on your calendar, and I hope to see you all then. We are now going to end the recording portion, the recorded portion of this, and transition over to our open forum, where we invite people to share ideas about research and writing and get friendly, constructive feedback and tips from other SABR members and anybody else on this call who's not a SABR member and happens to have hopped on, because our meetings are open to everybody. So pause everybody for a moment. I'm going to stop that recording and I will be right back.